Sometimes, the most ordinary missions turn into a fight for survival. Welcome to Best Adventure Action. An ordinary mission turns into a fight for survival full movie. Stay tuned, because what starts as a simple task will soon transform into a deadly battle against the impossible. Hello, adventurers. In today's full action-packed movie, we dive deep into a story where courage, loyalty, and survival instincts are put to the ultimate test. What if a routine mission suddenly pushes you into the heart of danger? What if survival becomes the only goal? In the world of special operations, there's a saying, the only easy day was yesterday. But you know, even that isn't always true. Sometimes the missions that look the simplest on paper, the ones you could almost do in your sleep, are the ones that turn into a living nightmare. They start with a simple objective, a handover, a delivery, a quick in and out. You think you know the risks. You think you're prepared for every contingency, but you can never truly be ready for the moment when everything you know is ripped away, and the mission becomes a brutal, primal fight for survival. This is the story of one such mission. It's a stark reminder that in the wild, the urban jungle, the real thing, complacency is your deadliest enemy. You can have all the best gear, the most advanced training, and a rock-solid plan, but nature, human treachery, don't follow a script. They are unpredictable forces of chaos. When a mission goes sideways, all that fancy equipment means nothing if you don't have the one thing that truly matters, the will to live. It's about digging deep, pushing past the pain, and finding a strength you never knew you possessed. It's about looking death in the eye and refusing to blink. This mission was supposed to be textbook, a ghost-in, ghost-out operation. Drop off a package and be back for breakfast. But the jungle had other plans. It's a place that tests you down to your very core. The heat, the humidity, the unseen things that slither and crawl, they all work together to break you down, mentally and physically. When you add a determined enemy into that mix, you have a recipe for disaster. The line between being the hunter and becoming the hunted is razor thin. And once you cross it, getting back is a fight for every single breath. This is where true warriors are forged. Not in the sterile environment of a training facility, but in the crucible of real-world chaos, where your only backup is the person next to you, and your only guarantee is the grit in your soul. Our story begins on the eve of Operation Whisperwind. The objective was straightforward: deliver a sealed briefcase of classified documents to a secure contact deep within the Viridian jungle. For Alpha Team, this was a milk run. They were the best of the best, a tight-knit unit forged in the fires of countless hotspots. Their leader, Captain Eva Valkyrie Rostova. Her presence was unwavering confidence for the team. They trusted her with their lives without question. Corporal Finn, fresh-faced rookie, eager to prove himself. The mission was simple, but for him it was everything. Initial insertion, flawless. Stealth helicopter flying low under the radar, skimming treetops. It was almost peaceful. Heavy humid air, beads on skin and leaves. They moved with practiced silence. NVG green glow. Finn at the rear, senses painfully heightened. Rustle of leaves, snap of a twig, a jolt through him. Rostova moving ahead, a phantom in the gloom. Objective a few kilometers away. All going exactly to plan. They were less than a kilometer from the rendezvous point when the world exploded. There was no warning, no sound of an approaching enemy. One moment, there was the rhythmic crunch of their boots on the jungle floor. The next, a blinding flash and a deafening roar ripped through the night. The blast threw Finn off his feet, his ears ringing. The peaceful symphony of the jungle had been replaced by the cacophony of war. Before the dust even settled, the ambush was sprung. Muzzle flashes erupted from the dense undergrowth, stitching lines of tracer fire through the darkness. They were caught in a kill zone, pinned down, outnumbered, outgunned. The initial blast had destroyed their primary communications gear, severing their link to the outside world. Jax laid down a desperate volley of suppressing fire, trying to give them room to breathe. But the enemy's fusillade was relentless. Rostova knew they couldn't stay there. The documents were no longer the priority. Staying alive was. Days bled into nights. The initial explosive ambush had transitioned into a grueling war of attrition. Alpha Team was on the run. The jungle itself became a relentless foe. The oppressive heat sapped their strength. Clean water was scarce. Leeches, venomous snakes, swarms of biting insects. Their resources were dwindling at an alarming rate. Ammunition was low. Every shot had to count. Medical supplies nearly exhausted. Bandaging shrapnel wounds. Food was a distant memory. Edible plants? Insects Jax could identify. The hunger was a dull, constant ache. Lack of sleep blurred reality, making mistakes more likely. They were being squeezed physically. They were being squeezed mentally, pushed closer and closer to their breaking point. Jax salvaged parts from wrecked gear. He made a chilling discovery. The IED wasn't a simple tripwire. It was detonated remotely. The frequency was a highly encrypted military channel, a channel only a handful in their own command had access to. The realization hit like a physical blow. They had been betrayed. This revelation shattered their morale. Trust in their command, gone. They weren't just fighting Scorpio. They were fighting shadows in their own organization. The jungle was no longer just physical danger. It had become a prison of doubt. Pinned down behind a waterfall, taking a moment to catch their breath, Rostova made a command decision. She needed to know what was in the briefcase, what was so important that someone would betray them and hire a top-tier mercenary group to kill them for it. Plugging the drive into Jax's salvage datapad, the truth of their mission scrolled onto the screen, and it was, honestly, horrifying. The documents were the final activation protocols and the targeting data for a next-generation weapon codenamed Chimera. It wasn't a bomb in the traditional sense, it was a localized EMP device of immense power, capable of vaporizing all electronics in a 10-mile radius. The target city listed in the files was home to over 2 million people. This was never a delivery mission. Alpha Team were unwitting couriers, meant to be eliminated so that Scorpio could acquire the Chimera protocols. The betrayal wasn't just about money, it was about handing a weapon of mass destruction to a terrorist syndicate. The ambush wasn't just to kill them, it was to secure the final key needed to unleash chaos on an unprecedented scale. Their simple mission had just become the most important one of their lives. The weight of this knowledge was immense. They had to stop this, no matter the cost. The hunters were about to become the hunted. With the truth of the mission revealed, a fire was lit in Rostova's eyes. Retreat was no longer an option. Survival now meant going on the offensive. Using the intel from the hard drive, Jax was able to pinpoint Scorpio's likely extraction point, an abandoned airstrip on the other side of a deep ravine. They set up small, improvised traps along their back trail. Rostova, using her deep knowledge of guerrilla tactics, turned the enemy's pursuit against them. The climax unfolded at the abandoned airstrip. Under the cover of darkness, Alpha Team surveyed the scene. The Phantom, his elite guard, waiting for their transport. Alpha Team had one crucial advantage, the element of surprise, and a handful of captured enemy explosives. They would create a diversion, a massive explosion at one end of the airstrip, while Rostova and Finn made a direct assault on the Phantom himself. The firefight was brutal and up close. Finn, no longer a rookie, fought with a cold, focused fury. It all came down to a final, desperate confrontation on the tarmac. In the chaos of the battle, Captain Rostova was wounded, taking a round to the shoulder as she finally took down the Phantom. With the enemy leader eliminated, the remaining Scorpio forces fell into disarray, but they were still a lethal threat. It all came down to Finn. In that instant, something inside him solidified. The fear was gone, replaced by an ice-cold resolve. He grabbed the last of their captured explosives, armed the timer, and made a decision. He sprinted across the open tarmac, a lone figure running directly into the line of fire. He reached the cargo plane just as its ramp was beginning to close, tossing the explosive charge deep into its hold among the remaining mercenaries. He didn't make it back, but his job was done. Seconds later, the plane erupted in a massive fireball, a brilliant orange blossom that lit up the jungle for miles. Finn's final act was one of ultimate sacrifice, the final definitive statement in a battle he was never supposed to be a part of. He made the ultimate trade, his life for millions. Days later, a rescue helicopter located 2 survivors at the smoldering airstrip. Captain Rostova, weak from blood loss but alive. Sergeant Jax guarding with nothing but his wits and an empty rifle. They were going home, but they were leaving a part of themselves behind, a part of their innocence. The mission was over, but the war within had just begun. Back in the sterile, quiet world of debriefings, medical evaluations reveal the cost. The physical wounds would heal, but the psychological scars ran deep. The betrayal by their own command cast a long, dark shadow. The memory of Finn's sacrifice was a constant, heavy presence. True courage, Rostova realized, wasn't the absence of fear. She had seen it in Finn's eyes in his final moments, feeling that fear, acknowledging it, acting anyway because something else is more important. The official report was sanitized. It spoke of a mission gone wrong, of unforeseen resistance. No mention of Chimera, no mention of the betrayal. For Rostova and Jax, the truth was branded onto their souls. They'd been to the edge and looked into the abyss. They brought back a painful understanding. The greatest acts of heroism happen far from the public eye, performed by ordinary people pushed to extraordinary limits. Survival is more than just breathing. It's about carrying the weight of those who didn't make it. It's about honoring their sacrifice by living a life worthy of it. They had learned the hardest lesson the wild can teach. Find something worth fighting for bigger than yourself. For Alpha Team, it was a city. For Finn, it was his team. And that is a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. If you enjoyed this action-packed survival story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more full adventure movies. Until next time, stay strong, stay brave, and keep fighting.